Welcome back. Now, let's take a look at that tweet. I did mention that the Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Festus Keyamo, Minister of State for Labour and Employment, made a comment, and I'd like you to comment on that. So it reads, for the records, whilst not commenting on any matter, the Federal Capital Territory High Court has no jurisdiction over federal agencies in respect of the performance of their constitutional or statutory functions, and it cannot issue any injunctive order to prevent the performance of a statutory duty. That's coming from the SAN.
I kind of disagree on that line of argument. One is that the jurisdictions of court are determined by subject matters before the court. Now, the course of action as well. You look at what is before the court, FCT High Court, is you look at the parties as well. Now, the parties were brought in. There are 30 parties to that suit, 30 defendants to that suit. Now, it is being initiated by some political parties as of right. Now, their contention, the course of action is that, yes, we agree that there is a policy, a CBN policy. But however, this policy is occasioning hardship to the Nigerian populace. And however, these banks that have been lined up here are saboteurs to these policies. Also, these other government agencies are regulatory agencies. They are here to regulate these banks. Now, you do not, it is for the court to decline jurisdiction or for the court to interpret its jurisdiction. You do not pick and choose for the court whether it has jurisdiction. Now, it is very plain. It is very plain. When the rights of Nigerians are trampled upon, their basic rights, you have the right to approach the court, of which that the parties have gone. Now, just like I said before, the order or a judgment of a court remains valid until it is set aside. It is not by tweeting. It is for my learned friend to actually apply to be joined as a party, or better still, apply to appeal those seek leave to appeal that order that has been made. He has the option to appeal. Anybody, any Nigerian can enter, apply to be joined, and make seek leave to appeal that order. So it is not for you to come on Twitter and tweet these are not right. He is a lawyer, he is a revered member of the INABA. But however, it is not for you to tweet. The tweet is not, Twitter is not the law court. Let him apply to be joined as a party, and he can apply appeal that order with leave of court.
All right, I'd just like to get your opinion. You mentioned that some bank officials have been arrested, and investigations on their lives. Now we have people blaming certain persons like the POS operators and bank cashiers for profiting off of this situation. Just the other day I heard a story of a person who basically, goes to these ATM queues. He stands in line, and when he's close to the front, he sells his spots. Someone said he made about 15,000 naira a day just going from places to places selling spots. Now, that aside, the question now is the original thought behind this process. Do you think it might have been defeated because people say, you know what, these politicians, they are the first ones to get this money. So at the end of the day, they just take their cash, exchange it, get the new ones, and then go on to buy the votes they want to buy. Do you think that is actually working the way it should be when we keep seeing clips of certain VIPs, perhaps using the money at occasions, at events, and we have the average Nigerian who believes that the policy will actually prevent politicians from doing their evil deeds? They are the ones suffering. Do you think that the CBN might have been outsmarted?
No, not in total. Not in total. Previously, they used to have their way. If they had their way, there are one thing peculiar about politicians: they do not complain when they are enjoying. They do not complain when they are enjoying. But for a politician to come out in broad daylight and begins to complain, he is pained. Now, while I enjoy them coming out, but I also would plead to them to also come out in other circumstances other than these situations, just like we had during the ASU strike that lasted for over 8 months, and they were nowhere to be found. Now, in this situation, you could see that the cash is limited, and there is certain percentage, there is certain amount of cash that is given to each bank and each branch. Now, there is also a log, or it's in a way that your activities are regulated. Now, before when at the earlier stance of this policy, people compromised a lot, and they are still compromising. But with this task force involved now, where you have EFCC, DSS, you have ICPC hovering around banks and then monitoring their transactions and their activities, you could see that there have been a lot of raids within the bank. Over the past 1 week, we've seen over 10 raids of different banks and different arrests being made. And you could see how callous some of these operators are. How would somebody feel comfortable hiding so much money? As at yesterday, somebody was arrested, a bank was busted, and over 29 million naira was of the new cash we are seeing stashed in the safe, in the bank safe. This is not right. They are no longer having their way. There is no way for them to move that money out of the bank, as it were. Previously, they have every chance, they were not monitored, but at the moment, it is very difficult. The money is there. The only thing they can do is to just hide them as they're hiding them. And when EFCC or ICPC comes, they bust them and they put them in the ATM. You know, I saw a clip of where an ATM, a particular commercial bank, filled in the new bundles, still wrapped in an ATM. It wasn't dispensing, but to a system, to maybe a CCTV, it could show that they have filled in the ATM machine. But on a closer look at it, you realize that these are wrapped money. It cannot dispense. No, it took the intervention of this ICPC, EFCC, DSS, and police to unravel these mysteries, this mischief being carried out by the bank. Like I said, these bank institutions are one of the greatest saboteurs of this policy, and they should be dealt with squarely. Yes, they are playing for 1 or 2 politicians, but however, on the long run, if the eyes of the law and hands of the law catches up with such person, you will not see the politician there. I advocate that these persons who are caught in this act be made to face the highest terms of punishment as it concerns threatening the peace of Nigeria, and that will be treason. If they are to face this kind of thing, they will take caution. They will be cautious of not sabotaging the efforts of government. It is an affront on a legitimate government. You are sabotaging the entire country, and it is a treasonable offense for you to do that.
That's fair enough. Now I'm still on the matter. That's the issue of Naira redesign and so on and so forth. Let's take it now to some allegations that this is personal. And why do you think such persons might be saying so? We saw that Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu at some point said that even if they keep the Naira, even if they hold fuel, we will still win the election. And people wonder who is the they he is referring to. On other occasions, we've seen that there seems to be some sort of rifts. Governor Rufai says there is a cabal in Aso Rock who does not want the party to win. So the question now is, and then also to add to that, the APC National Youth Leader, Dayo Israel, made a statement. He says that around this period, close to election or close to December, that there is no fuel queues, there is no scarcity, and that it is a targeted attempt to wound the party. So I wonder, how could this be targeted at one person? And also the comments by the national youth leader, is there an implication that government simply glosses over certain issues just so elections can hold and then, they continue with the status quo?
A lot of persons complain when it is not favoring them. When it wasn't favoring Nigeria, nobody complained. But now, particularly when it is not favoring them, you could say the APC is divided against itself. Of course, we know the APC is a convergence of different political parties. We have the new PDP, we have the new APGA, we have the CPC, and we have the ACN. So you see, you could see a theory like this. Some part of the ACN and some part of the CPC are at loggerhead. Now, but the question to ask is the policy right for Nigerians? The answer will be in the positive. Yes, the policy is right for Nigerians, irrespective of the political affiliations you belong to. Now, considering me and you, we might have 1 or 2 naira notes, old naira notes left. But for these politicians, having stash of naira is a daily target for them. It's like a dream. It's what every other politician aspires to have. Cash at their disposal. And this is CBN clipping the wings of this politician. And what do they do with this cash? Because you cannot vote by with under an online system. If you buy votes through an online system, it will be detected. If you make these multiple transfers within an election period, it will be detected. Don't forget, the Electoral Act has set a benchmark upon how much you can spend. The Electoral Act sets the entire amount a presidential candidate can spend is 5 billion naira. So you see the problem. No more vote buying. If you buy votes through an online means, how much are you going to send to Nigerians to buy vote? By the cumulative calculation, it will be more than 5 billion naira. So you see, you're already running far of the Electoral Act, and it is a punishable offense. You see why all these fights are going on? They could easily buy votes if they have the cash. It is very, very difficult to buy votes by electronic transfers. If you buy vote by electronic transfers, all our electronic transfers are monitored by both EFCC and CBN. They know how much you transfer. They know when you make a bulk transfer. There are certain amounts you transfer from your account now, and you see officers hovering around your house asking you questions, making invitations to you to come and explain. Now there are certain amount of money that will enter your account. You will think nobody knows, but immediately it enters, it will reflect. So it could be easily detailed, and it could be easily seen. Now, but the era of cash, when we have cash, it is very difficult for you to ascertain how much a person is spending, how much is at their disposal, and how much they are willing to buy votes. So the era of buying votes is almost defeated. If these policies continues like this until the day of the presidential election and even governorship election, it will affect the election. The normal electoral malpractices that we are used to might be reduced, because the electoral inducement will reduce. People will have to vote according to their free conscience. You're not induced by any way.
Just to continue, speaking about this inducement, the Labour Party presidential candidate, Peter Obi, recently suggested that voters can, or perhaps the electorate can, he says if they give you money, collect, and then vote for me or vote your conscience and so on and so forth.
We're used to the era where politicians share money. They share bags of salt. They share wrapper. But at the moment, the policies have curtailed some part of it. You can hardly have the cash to even spend on your personal needs. Not talk of having cash to give 200 million Nigerians to vote for you. So how much are you willing to give out?
Well, I'm interested in the collecting. As an electorate, if I decide to collect such money, haven't I committed a crime also?
Yes, you have. But sometimes nobody is watching you. You become a suspect when you're caught in the act.
So
if nobody arrests you, millions of crimes are committed in Nigeria on daily basis, but nobody gets to catch them.
Is as they say in vernacular, now who them catch be thief.
Exactly.
That's interesting. But it seems as though the Labour Party candidate is encouraging it. Isn't that?
No, the Labour Party candidate is saying we are used to a political atmosphere where there is much cash and there is much spending and there is much vote buying. Now you could see in our previous election where money is being shared. Now the Labour Party candidate with their slogan, they know they give shishi, he's saying there is even no money to share. If which way they share it and give you, collect it and vote for anybody you feel like. Now it is right that if there is less cash in the system, electorate will have the free will, the free mind, without any form of inducement to vote whoever they feel like.
Right,
because with the stage of hunger in Nigeria, you wouldn't say people will not succumb to such things, but there is nothing to give.
All right, but the issue now is we're trying to find perhaps a lasting solution to vote buying. And it seems that the different ways that are being brought up inconvenience one person or another. Now, I understand that we already run a private ballot, but it doesn't seem to be working. We know that INEC encourages or perhaps informs people that they shouldn't have their phones close to them, because what we are finding out is happening now is that when a party agent comes to you and says, "I'm going to give you this amount for your vote," the party agent most definitely can't stand with you or be with you while you're casting that vote. So he tells you to take your phone, take a picture of your thumb on the required party, and then when you come back with the picture, he gives you the money. So the issue now is how can this be enforced so that it almost makes it impossible for whoever that person is that is buying that vote to know how you truly voted.
Now, it starts with this cashless policy. One is that it's a good start. One is that there is no more money to buy. There is no more money to buy.
That.
There is no more money to buy. If you're going to buy, the amount of money we used to have is no longer the amount of. You can agree to that. There is no money anywhere. You just said a POS attendant makes so much. Now there is no money.
I hear they want to start buying lands and cars now.
I know how much I sourced for fun while I was coming here just to be able to get here. There is no money anywhere. There's no money in the bank.
Just a moment. Let's hear from one of our callers.
Hello.
Hello, good afternoon. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Nigeria.
I didn't hear you. You said?
I know that guy, dog. Please call me back. Just call me back.
Right. Things are really hard. Anyway, we'll do our best to call you back, but finish your question.
As it is now, Nigeria, there is no more cash. The level of cash we used to have in the system has been reduced drastically by this policy of cashless policy. Now, if you look at that, people are looking for cash to even feed themselves. Politicians are complaining that they have not even seen the cash. So, who is going to buy? Who is going to sell? Now, there might be people willing to buy, but who is willing to sell when he doesn't even have for his personal needs? And an online transfer is ruled out. You can't do that. A smart politician will not even dare, because if he tries, there is no way you spend up to that amount. Previously, in a state, they budget around 500 million, 1 billion naira for one state. Now, if you spend that kind of money by electronic transfer, it will be detected immediately. And you will need to answer questions of why you made such transfers within the particular election period. So now it becomes very difficult to buy votes, and it's become very difficult to also sell votes. So you see, we are likely going into the election. Like I said, I always say, this election is a special election. We are likely going into the election with a free mind. Nothing to buy, nothing to sell. You either vote according to your conscience or you sit down at home. Nobody is selling for you. There is no money to sell to you. There is nothing, no materials to sell to you. And people it's good that it orients people and they become aware that this is everybody, it's on your own stance.
So do you think this election will be truthful? What the results we see, do you think that it will represent?
If it continues this way, it will be different from previous elections that have been held. If it is, from what we are seeing from the policies on ground, it is going to be, one is that we've been able to curtail where we have multiple snatching of ballot boxes by the advent of beavers. Again, with this no cash policy, we have also been able to do a 50%. If it continues like this till the election day, we might be able to do a 50% or even less than 50% slide down of what cash inducement we used to have. So in that circumstances, we have an election where you are left with your candidate and the electorate. So whatever the electorate decides, it happens. Now you see, nobody is snatching ballot box. Nobody is overvoting. If you overvote, the beavers will catch you. Now, the next step would have been to push and buy a lot of voters that will induce voters. Now, but there is nothing to induce anybody. There is little or nothing to induce anybody. How many people are you going to induce? The resources are limited. I'm not saying 100% is going to, because as you can see, some politicians have hold of the currency, but the problem is that the currency, even the currency that is printed, is not even half of what we used to have. So you see, when Nigerians have currency, they won't even have half of what they previously budgeted for. There is such currency that they previously had is not even printed in the first place. So it will be difficult to have access. They are going to have access quite alright, because some of them already have 1 or 2 persons in the bank. But there is a limit to how much somebody will go to give you such money. If he could previously give you 1 billion, pull a bullion van. You cannot pull that bullion van that pulled in 2019 to anybody's house. Now, if you pull it down, not only that the electorate will lynch you, the law will come for you. That is exactly how it is.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Kelechi, for coming today and for your thoughts and your analysis. Always a pleasure to have you.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, that's all we can take on the Polity today. Do join us tomorrow and every weekday, 2 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. for discussions on politics and governance and the state of the nation and the intersection of all of these. Again, the elections are just days away. We need to do more and be sure to participate. On Kaftan TV, we'll always bring to you chances and opportunities to see the candidates and to assess what they have for you so that you can make a very valid choice come February 25th, 2023. Now, do your best to go out there and cast your votes when the time comes. See you tomorrow and bye for now. I am Amadou Nobere.